Okay, so I did a previous video doing all the breakdowns of season 8's cast. Go ahead and check that out. I'm going to leave it in the eye. But here we have Brandon and Julia, and this season we are really going to see kind of how at least his parents kind of plays a part in their relationship. There's a few other things at play, though. Just a little backstory on Brandon. He said that he was friend zoned, and this kind of shows you how involved his parents are. They actually signed him up for Farmers Only. They were very proud of that. I think they even high-fived or fist bumped at that confession. But a couple of things that Brandon said in this first episode were a little eyebrow raising. He said that him and Julia could not get a visitor's visa, so they decided to get married. I'm not sure if I would be very happy with that type of proposal where it's, oh, I can't see you, so I'm just going to marry you. Maybe he worded it differently, and then some other things that he said was he stressed a few times in like confessionals and voiceovers that he has no money, but yet he told Julia to throw away her jackets, and that he will buy new ones. He said that he spent about $10,000 in 7 months. He neglected to tell Julia that they might actually have to live with his parents for the whole 90 days because apparently he alluded to the fact that they were only going to stay there for, a few weeks to a month. Another thing that he neglected to tell her was that they would be in separate bedrooms, and his father actually brought this up and said, you really need to tell her this before she comes, that way she's not kind of blindsided by this news. And he was like, no, I'll wait till the right time. And I think we can all predict how exactly that's going to go. But one thing that his mom brought up, which was very uncomfortable, was she started asking if Julia is on birth control. I don't think she really asked him if he was using condoms. Maybe she did, but I don't really remember that part. But I think she might have asked that because he said that they're not ready for kids, but then he also says that they use no form of birth control, and he's saying he has no money. So at this point, this boy is really gambling with the fact that he really may end up with a child, But yeah, I guess we're gonna really see what happens with this couple. It's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic, that's for sure. Okay, so is that protein powder all up in that cabinet to the right of him? If so, that seems like a lot. Okay, so before I dive into the relationship between Jovi and Yara, I just wanted to say that his job sounds pretty cool, because he gets to travel a lot. Like he said, once his quote-unquote contract is kind of over for that job, he's able to explore and go to other countries, which is how he met Yara in the first place. He said that his job is actually going to test his relationship because I believe that she's either going to be here for either 2 weeks to a month, and then he has to leave for a month, and then he comes back with 1 month left to get married. So they're really not going to be able to experience the full 90 days together. But we got to meet a couple of his friends, and they are very skeptical about his relationship. They're really stressing how much he kind of leads a bachelor lifestyle. And so they're wondering if he is definitely going to be able to give up that lifestyle for Yara. But Yara is also interesting because in her confessionals, she said he stinks. Or that's what I thought she said. I wrote it down. I was like, did she just say that he stinks? She also says, I love his body and I think I love Jovi. So yeah, that's interesting. And also she landed, she said a 30-hour flight because instead of doing like a direct flight, which obviously it's not going to do a direct flight. But what I'm saying is she had to stop at a few places in order to get there. He didn't really do the easiest flight path to get to New Orleans. But as soon as she landed, he like wanted to go out and show her New Orleans. And it's like, dude, she just got there, 30 hours. You know, I would want to be laid out in the bed, recovering, jet lag, all that stuff. But his whole thing was, oh, let's go see New Orleans. Like, give her a couple seconds to kind of catch her breath and get herself reacquainted before, you know, you show her New Orleans. But that was just my take on them. Okay, so Rebecca and Zayed. So I guess my whole thing was, especially when they were on, I believe they were on before the 90 days, but many people have stressed this, especially when you look at like 90 Day Fiancé comments, like on Instagram and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is when you are in these types of relationships and you are going to a different country, or even when you are traveling to a different country, make sure you research the culture. Make sure you research the culture. The last thing, especially, I believe, it's making me think of like Brittany and Yazan and how, you know, she wasn't exactly dressed appropriately, and the same thing with Rekka. You know, Zayed was trying to say, hey, make sure you dress appropriately. Do your research, okay? That's all I have to say is do your research. But anyway, Um, at one point in this episode, Rebecca was talking to Zayed's sister, I believe you pronounce her name Wiem, and she did not look interested in that conversation. It was very awkward. Um, I know that they had awkward tension when Rebecca went to visit, but she didn't, Zayed's sister did not look happy about the fact that he was leaving. And one thing that we saw was her daughter was saying that um, Rebecca and Zayed could move in with her daughter and her fiance to save money, but Zayed is like against it because they would be living with her daughter's fiance and they aren't married, and there are some cultural norms that would be compromised, I guess you could say, if they did that. So I guess that's going to be a topic of contention. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Okay, so lastly we have Mike and Natalie, and side note, I just wanted to say that the shots of him and his cat reminds me a lot of the shots of Tim and his cat. If you don't remember who Tim was, he was on 90 Day Fiancé the other way. You should check out that season. It was definitely interesting. I think it was coming no, was it the other way? Okay, I might be there are too many spin-offs of 90 Day Fiancé at this point. I might be wrong. I wanted to say though, I thought the last time he was on, he wasn't, I don't want to say financially stable, but financially stable. I thought he wasn't, like he was hiding his finances or something like that, the state of his finances from Natalie. But then you see in this episode that he's like bought a farm. So I was a little confused. Am I confusing him with someone else? Like, is that what was happening with somebody else on the show? And maybe I'm mixing them up. I'm not really sure. But when Natalie told Mike that her visa got approved and she had to be there in 20 days, it was like the life drained out of him, and he was just like, still, you know, it was like everything was just running through his mind, and he was just contemplating everything at that moment. I'm gonna put a little screenshot of what he looked like, but it was quite hilarious. I don't know why I wrote this question down, but when he went to the Ukraine to visit her, wasn't she living with her mother and he was staying with her and her mother? I think I wrote this down because of like the preview for the rest of the season. about what she thought of where he lived, but that's what I was thinking. I don't, that's why I wrote that down. I'm not 120% sure. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about them, y'all. This is the one I'm most skeptical about, honestly.